Oh, good. Right. Want to hear the somebody can set the deal. Of all those facilities I've passed in my years, I've never stopped. You know what? Not a bad idea. Oh, yeah.
Call to order committee of the whole meeting today, Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 5:15. We're being held and transmitted electronically via council chambers now located back at 39 Social Road in Lake Cowichan. We have a question period later that is limited to only items on the agenda. So for those who are off site, you can email to general@lakecowichan.ca. For in-person attendees, you have a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker, which will be questions only. Please refrain from statements. So once again, question period for off-site email is to general@lakecowichan.ca. And for in-person attendees, maximum of 3 minutes per speaker, limited to items on the agenda, please. So call to order introduction of late items. Councillor Sandy. Okay.
Yes, I'd like to do an addition to the agenda regarding the appointments to the Cowichan Lake Recreation Commission.
So that's the new business. No, it's not on the agenda. So on your new business, Steve, will be the recommendation. Any other late items to add? Council? No. Okay, so then we have to have approval on that addition to do that. Yeah, we love the agenda as amended. By Councilor Austin, seconded by Mayor McGonigal, all in favor? Approved. So minutes and recommendations that have been ratified by council is minutes of the committee of the whole meeting, which was held July the 11th of 2020. Moved by Councilor Sandu. Seconded by Mayor McGonigal, all in favor? Moved. So now we are moving on to. We have no business arising and no unfinished business. So we're going on to delegations and representations. And I'm assuming you, sir, are Drew Carmichael?
I am.
Okay. And you're from the Kinsman of Lake Cowichan, and you're regarding a request for approval to install fitness equipment at Riverside Park, also known as the Duck Pond. And I believe you get 10 minutes. If you need longer, just let us know.
Have to be more than sufficient.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, here I just have a few. One to share for you to think around. So thank you. I'm Drew Carmichael. I'm one of the newest Kinsmen, and I've taken over the Duck Pond Improvement Project, where Steve White had been handling that for the last few years. And I'm also going to be the treasurer this year of the Kinsmen. So what we're here to talk about tonight is phase 2 of the improvements. As you know, last year we finally got all the funds available and the new playground equipment installed. And phase 2 of that was to install some fitness equipment into the park. So we've got a proposal from Park and Play Design for 6 pieces of equipment. Part of our original funding was with a focus on seniors fitness. So we've chosen 6 pieces of equipment. 2 of them are striders, which in talking to I talked to the parks department down in Duncan and toured some of their equipment. The striders definitely get the most use, and often and installing them in pairs was recommended so that people that are walking together can come down and then be able to chat and and spend some time on the striders as well. And then also you'll see there's a little hand turn, which is also a very seniors focused for movement, a piece of equipment. And then in talking to some of the teachers at the local school, they're also saying that they do take a lot of students there. So we wanted to focus on a little bit of sort of that medium above the age where the playground equipment sort of hit, but into that young teen to teenager level. So having a few upper body piece of equipment, as well as a leg press and some things that might interest sort of that age group. So we're trying to cover a bunch of different areas in that. So today, really what we're looking for is to show you the design that we've come up with. The black and white ones show a little bit different view. The main, I gave one in color just to give an idea of what it would look like. Our proposal is, after working with Jazz, is to install it in sort of what I'm calling the northeast corner. So if you're looking at the park from the road, just off to the left as you come in on that little bit of a slope that would overlook the park, but just enough clearance away from the playground equipment so that if there are seniors or things like that working there, they feel like they could go in there without being overrun by what's going on in the playground. Unfortunately, it is a bit of a slope, so we have a little bit of work to do. We'd have to grade that slope a little bit, and in talking to Jazz, and we think that we can do that in a way where we can get an excavator in and sort of slope it off, giving us, we need about 30 by 24 feet of flat area so that Park and Play would be able to come in and pour a concrete foundation and then install in a flat area. But at the same time, we don't want to create really the need for what's the word I'm looking for? Embank, like a retaining wall or anything like that. So we're going to try and grade that and work with Jazz's team to figure out the best way to do that. So we have a quote from Park and Play to get this done. This approximate cost is about $64,000 to do it. We've got almost all the funds raised at this point, so we feel we'd be able to start that. We were hoping maybe towards the end of this year, but likely it'll probably be the springtime before we got around to it. But we definitely like it in time for next summer. So we're looking for approval to grade the area, so get approval for that we can get a backhoe in and start that work. Then obviously to also complete the work and have Park and Play complete that work. And then also, I believe the agreement we had on the playground park was that the town took over sort of the maintenance and keeping that going. So we'd be looking for the same agreement on the fitness equipment, that you'd be able to take over the maintenance on that as well. And we do have a quote from Park and Play. It keeps going up, so we would like to put a 50% deposit in to hold that pricing, but we wanted to make sure we had all our approval in place before we did that. So we've got really until the end of the month to hold that pricing. Instead, we probably have a little bit of wiggle room, but if that could be done before the end of the month, it would allow us to put that deposit down and then know that we're on our way. I think that's covers about everything I hope to talk about, but I'm certainly open to questions if you have any questions.
Just through the staff, so our staff has obviously read this, and so from the town standpoint, can we meet all these requirements for the Kinsman going ahead?
Yeah, we were working with Steve on this last year as well, and what Drew has said, there's a bit of we have to cut a little bit, but we don't want to retain walls, so we can slope it, so it'll be grass and there's no issue with kids stripping over the walls.
Welcome to Lake Caution Group.
Thank you.
Kinsman is a great organization. You can see by the collaborative approach on the first phase that there was a lot of community buy-in, and I'm sure you'll find that again here at different organizations in the community. I would just move that CAO and the superintendent of public works work with the applicant on the approval process to install fitness equipment at the duct.
One second.
And with the seconder, I think this could be a stepping stone of what was going to be implemented in Centennial Park in one of the phases there. So instead of having it there, we could look at another option within that if we do get a grant moving forward for getting seniors or exercise equipment out of that design into the duck pond. So there's an option for other plans to come forward within the centennial design if and when we ever win the grant lottery. But looking forward to approval and getting the pricing set.
So I just wanted to ask one thing is,
Sure.
it's a cement path,
Yes.
and you were talking about a grade, but the access to that, will it be on? I'm worried about seniors
Right, in terms of,
in the grass and the unevenness and,
so the actual area then would be quite flat, but you're correct that, you know, and it's interesting, there's sort of a pathway that's been created from people walking kind of through that area right now, but it's not a set pathway at all. But it is actually worth considering whether have some sort of access off that main path into that area and giving some consideration to that. I hadn't thought of that myself, so it might be something that we'd want to discuss a little bit further and make sure that we're giving a good, nice, even flat access into that, not sort of requiring to walk down the hill or side hill.
as it is designed for seniors, and they have a little more challenges.
Yeah, for sure.
At my age, I do so go. Might be a little bit harder, so I didn't know if you had looked at that.
No, I think that's worthy of us putting that consideration in, and whether we've got to consider like just a path being built in there or getting it close enough to the path that it does work within that. So, and I'm trying to envision, I can't quite remember what the entrance from the existing path is over towards that area we have in mind, but we could get it right up close to that path as well, so that they could come down the main path and be able to walk right in to the path. So I think we'll make sure we have that under consideration when we do it.
That was my second question, was about that, the CAO was about the liability, and that's covered under our municipal insurance. I would assume, okay, well, thank you.
And I think access and egress through the gated portion is quite flat there, so you could direct some kind of signage and separate the access. That way, you don't have to worry about remediating that path or improving that path.
Yeah, I think as long as we can get it close enough to that path so that that's sort of the natural way to get in there, and that you can sort of step immediately from that path into the area. And making
I'm
sure.
not suggesting I'm the superintendent. Works. I know some of us seniors probably utilize this when we take our grandchildren to the playground, right?
Just want to thank you for doing that, but we did mention it quite a while ago, and I teach a class for seniors, and I know a lot of them are asking, are we having anything like that in town? So it should be well used and hopefully.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're very excited to get it done.
So we don't make the decision, we just call the question. We go ahead and send that. Yeah, call the question. All in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
It will refine it. So give us the.
It'll go to right now. Basically, we got as far as we could. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going on to correspondence, which is Brian Poole from Environment Paper Excellence regarding coming to begin next week, which is tomorrow. So this is for information, but if the mayor or Councillor Sanders wishes to speak on it. Mayor McDonald?
When this news release was distributed through other outlets. Operation in the media departments, I received a phone call from CPACs. On this, and when it would be implemented and what impacts it would have within our community. And immediately following that, CGB, Vancouver Island, came up and did an interview as well. We did it down by Civil Park with the crane and pump installation in the background. So I'm not sure if anyone saw it. interview or heard the one on the radio, I think what we're seeing is something that we haven't witnessed in probably 50 years, where not only the lake is being impacted, but adjacent wells in electoral areas have gone dry, and we're looking at fish being stranded, et cetera. So it's quite impactful, and until there's significant rain, we may see levels of the lake that we have never seen since that weird in place. So, the Lake Couch and Lamprey, for instance, they're in dire need of some protection, and that is implemented in the line program as well. So, just a heads up that the pumps will probably be running for a considerable amount of time until the lake is recharged.
Yeah, I was just gonna read a quick little comment from Tom Rutherford from the Watershed Board, who was saying that the lake will be lowered by approximately 1 centimeter a day, which will impact the productive littoral habitat around the perimeter. And although there are safeguards in place, the river will be on life support depending on the pumps to keep the water flowing. So it's imperative that if the pumps stop, that is ignored. So they've got a lot of safeguards in place, people monitoring the water levels and whatnot, and starting once the pumping starts. So.
And it'll follow up at every ministry update that we've had weekly on wildfire and drought, and brought forward the need for the infrastructure improvements, funding shortfalls. So there will be a meeting at UBCM with Chair Stone and the CAO of the CRE on need for that funding to move those improvements sooner than later.
I was just gonna say one more thing, is that the Couch and Watershed Board, is gonna attend our public meeting on September 25th. And they're just gonna do an update on the weir, the progress of what is going on with the weir.
Madam Chair.
Okay, thanks for hearing that. And which is finance administration and strategic planning. Oh, but no, before that, we're gonna have a presentation by Fire Chief Doug Knott from Lake Couch and Volunteer Fire Department. Welcome, Doug.
Get a couple of things. This is two grants to speak on, and we need to go on. Good to see you. So this grant Park Minister was using the Parks Association of BC to put out a grant for training. Will that whole fire department still access live fire interior prop training, which currently we would have to travel to then I was been shut down for several years. It's up and going. We haven't been able to use it yet, which is run by Pierre, which is the city fire department and the university run program. Otherwise, it's Otter Point, and the other one is Comox. Comox runs a Class A fire, which means they're burning wood. They don't want us in that anymore. So they're pushing through this funding to find regional training centers, fund them, and have a local department kind of head it. I've got a letter of support from the regional district for the local fire departments of mutual aid to us. The Nitnat First Nation did that. They have formed a fire department. I've been in touch with him for the last month on different things, and he's given us a letter of support. They would be able to come out here in an evening and train and go home for 2 hours type thing. Same with the local departments and their accountants and stuff. I've got a letter from him, but spoken to him. He's good. We supply services to him. So what this is about is it's a fairly costly grant. It'd be in the $400,000 we'd be asking for. As you can see, they only allocated 1.75 million. it's gonna be heavily over requested. But my understanding with our letters and the way we're approaching it, I think we have a decent chance. And we'd be requesting close to probably 400,000. I've got 3 quotes, one's in the 800,000 range, one's about 350, just about 360. A little bit skeptical on that one. So we'd be probably pushing for the one we dealt with before, around 400. And we would manage it. We would have, they also want to, in this thing here, you can see they want a user fee. We'd have to establish a user fee structure for anyone using it. We would pay for the propane type thing and maintenance, anybody using it. We would charge a fee for. Oh, the time frame is gonna be by the 20th. So we're gonna try and submit it on Thursday. Or Friday, George will submit it, or something like that. And yeah. Would sit at the Levy Greenville site, which we had approval for when we submitted to have a training group around there. So I need approval on that one.
Questions, looking for a seconder? Put it on board, Councillor Austin. Go ahead,
So
Councillor.
what were you saying? You were saying about the location of this, if you get the grant?
Well, and we, when we were put into the AB Greenville for years ago, we requested. What's the game in that acronym? The LR.
Yeah.
Yeah, they approved it at that time.
Oh, okay.
We'd be able, we're operating at that site.
Oh,
So that's inherent to be able to make this happen.
Yeah.
We have to have a place
yeah.
to get it. So that's what we're saying we're going.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Councillor Frisbee.
And the fees that we charge are obviously gonna cover any expenses to this new thing, right? It's not gonna cost the town money to run it. It would be.
Well,
break even.
operation, once we're running it, wouldn't be enough cost, but right now we're paying to go to someone else's.
Oh, so
Our
then
training budget.
I see.
So when we can get in, and that's the biggest problem, that's why this has come to light, is we can't get in. This other training centers only want to operate so many days a year, that's weekends. And not, a lot of people want to spend their weekends. But we having our own here, in 2 hours or just over. With people all starting it up, but it's propane, we're not allowed, this is, as you can read it, they're not allowed to burn fossil fuels in the product, but they're not allowed to burn carcinogen fuels, which is mostly balanced. So gas fired propane are natural, we only have propane, that's what they'll allow the grant for. But we pay that cost where we go, be it the other places, so that cost we would have to bear, but we're already costing that out right now in our training budget, so. We'd have to build a cost into this year's budget of a GL code for that particular thing if we get the grant. So, but charging for use would offset that, and that's agreed upon so far by the group said they would. It could go further than that too, but I haven't gone with Couch and Valley. A little bit of dysfunction right down there, so kind of just stay away from that and I'll tell you it's something more for to talk to them. So that's the grant that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Through the CAO, given that this is committee of the whole and the timing, can we expedite the approval of council so desired, or just going to council meeting?
Yeah. I'm, if I may, I'm not sure if this committee for resolution is sufficient for application, but it would be a first step. We can indicate that there was approval given at the committee of the whole stage, and that council will ratify on the 26th meeting.
So final approval, if it does pass the committee of the whole, would be that September 26th, so that could be in the application.
Yes, we will make the application.
It's not a big window here, but it all this money.
No, we will send the application in that.
Yeah, we'll see.
And unfortunately, we didn't meet him on this, we missed that. But just clarifying that that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm confused. No, I just wanted to ask one other thing, the funding, so the total project funding is 1.75
That's how much is there.
available.
Okay.
Oh, but not just, yeah, And so if you get the grant, and it'll be a one-time investment, where does the rest, like, is there also funding?
It will be the maximum, he's looking for
On what
400,000.
we're requesting a maximum build, one thing that would be maybe a little bit of localized electrical. Stuff like that, other than that, it's.
That's the amount for the whole program.
Okay, and so just out of curiosity, the training center from the Meads Creek would also go.
That would be the intent to do it there, yes, so it was, that's. We're not allowed to burn a meat creek, we're not allowed to burn anything, interior, exterior, anything, so we do it. We put out a small one, the firewall, we put out behind, but they didn't let us do it. That was we're gonna be signed.
Okay, so we're, how do we finish this? All question. All in favor? Oh, no.
Yeah, if I may, can we get a clarification on what motion we,
The motion is to approve the grant in the amount of.
the application for the grant,
Application.
for the amount of 400,000?
$400,000 to be sent to council meeting of September 26th for 500 people. Will that suffice?
Yeah, I think it should add the live fire support, purpose of live fire training. for town of Lake County.
As you stated.
All questions? Unanimous, thank you. Anything further, John?
Yeah, I got another grant, we're gonna get a little more time, frame. This one is, I think it's October 1st. So it's fire department, they've been calling in help the last while, CR, community resiliency. But what they've done there now is, we asked them, as Chiefs Association, look, this is 1 year at a time, it's too complicated. You're actually having employees and everything doing this, and so they've come back and they said, okay, we're gonna allow you to do a 2-year, apply for 2 years at a time, and it'll be a max of 200,000 per year. And then if you get it for the first that term, the renewal in 2 years, you're pretty well sure to get it as long as funding is put out. So possibly could be 4 years. What they're also allowing in that is how we've been employing people. We have oversight by a forester who has a certain amount of money, several students. And now they come back and said they'll allow a full-time position to be in there. And it's an 80%, 20% formula. You can't mess with that number. 80% fire smart, 20% fire duties. So what you get out of this is a Monday to Friday daytime person, which they're vastly short. Huge problem, right? From the last 8 in the last 2 years, that Kennedy's 100 day. So they'll fund it 100%.
100%.
We just have to get the grant. Yeah, they can do general duties for 20% of the time.
What is it, a letter of support? Or-
Yeah, so what we do is with the application, we brought to the next meeting, 26th, and then we'll take approval on that. But this is just information.
This application for go ahead.
And then, I'm sorry. Through you, the timing on that, I missed.
October 1st, I think, is when it can start in. You want to get in right away. You know, these things can't get over requested.
It does give us time.
Yeah.
Great.
Anything else on that one? You need to-
Well, I would move that we move that forward to council for the consideration at that time to the regular council meeting of September 26th.
Seconded by Councilor Sandu, so call question, all over. Unanimous. Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, and one other or two other, one is the aerial truck still working on it. They're not easy to find. We have not a plan for how we're gonna also restore it. So that's gonna be with us hard here soon. And the last item is from the fire department social side, which is what we have to keep a voluntary department. We've been running amok there for years, and we need to form a society. It's a push I've been trying for a year or so there, Kind of societies have to form a society, and I really know we're gonna go ahead with that. And it protects the firefighters, it protects the town if there's anything goes wrong. We have a society in place, it's in place, ladies is gonna, and North Sanders gonna have it, there's some others that who are gonna help us. With a bit of the final stuff on it, which would include proper licensing for events if we're having stuff right now. We go pick the license. There's actually a plot license you can have legally once you get a society. So it's a little more cut and dry. It would not be the chief or the officer running the society. It would be a group involved in the fire department who run the society, and they have house rules and regulations for everyone, like we have now. It's just it cuts and dries, and makes the town not responsible, officers not responsible, society, so. Where it needs to get to, so that's something we're gonna pursue. That's all, any question about that?
Good idea.
Trying to get the membership buy-in. More time, so that's what I have. If there's any-
Great.
Question? Thank you very much.
You got it.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Now we'll move on to Director of Finance. Ms. Gibb.
Thank you, Councilman. So the statements for the general water and sewer funds are attached. I sent out letters because tax sales coming up at the end of September. 7 of the 14 properties that had delinquent balances have since paid. The tax sale will be held here September 25th at 39 South Shore Road. List of properties currently in tax sale have been posted to the town's website. Business license revenue shows at just under 27,000 in these statements. 3,000 of that is not yet been collected. We have been working on sending out notices to those who have not yet paid. The operations of the Quack and Lakeview Park show a combined surplus of 105,000 to date, so that's looking good so far. And I would just like to thank all the public that have been very patient with us as we as we are getting settled into the new building. That's good.
Okay. Is there any questions or anything for finance, Councillors?
Just a couple of things. Nice to see the investment on interest on investments.
Yes.
So regarding the grant and aid fund, do we still have $1,200 available?
No, $1,000, 200. 1,000, wasn't it, for the scholarship?
Yeah, we've issued some that haven't been paid out, like the scholarship.
So, yeah, 200.
So we have $200.
Thank you very much. Through to the CFO. If we look at the police tax levy and the budget. And then the actuals, was that the discrepancy in what was billed for our police levy?
There's
Well,
been,
anticipated.
no, there's been supplementary, so every now and again, taxpayers will challenge the amount of the assessment, which will result in a change to the, so there has been one that's come through.
I'm speaking of the police tax levy.
Yeah, so that's part of that. But I think the amount that we budgeted, we didn't have the amount, so that was an estimate. The budget amount was an estimate, so we didn't have actuals.
We didn't get the actual prior to the budget.
That's correct. And it's the same with school tax. We didn't have that amount either. But it is an in and an out, so we collect and then we pay it out, so it doesn't affect the town's bottom line.
Until we reach a population of 5,000.
Correct.
Then we will be sending people to the line.
Councillor President.
Just on the Click and Lakeview surplus. So I noticed there's a lot of expenditures that we haven't used this year. So we're at 50%, 7% of the Click, and we haven't done much of the upgrades. Are we still planning on doing those upgrades this year?
Yes,
Starting in September, we'll be doing the work at Lincoln Park. We've got plans that have been drawn up at the best time after the season. And other contractors are looking at some of the work that's getting done at the center. We'll also have in November, so it's not to sort of be involved when we're during very busy weeks and months of the year. So we'll get as much done as possible between the year end.
And so that has to do with the heating upgrades as well, the click.
We've got a couple of companies that are coming in, and they're going to be starting to look at us closely in September again. And so far, that's all I'm going to report that one, but that's a big one.
Yeah. And there was also some sewer upgrades or a septic field upgrade. Was that completed, or I know it was added onto the budget at the end of
The septic field,
Yeah, wasn't there a $40,000?
it was all completed, and
Yeah.
we were under the budget that we anticipated. I think it was around, I'm just gonna go by memory, but I think it was around $23,000.
Okay.
That, and it completed, and it really upgraded it to a beautiful spot. And we've been struggling with it for a couple of years, and all of a sudden it did happen last year, you know.
Yeah.
And it's good, perfect. No smell.
And then just on budget figures, so we're sitting at about 100 and something thousand below estimated income. How is the click looking for the rest of the year as far as bookings and hitting that target?
Yeah, well, the year's not over, so we're not below it at this point.
That's right, yeah,
This is what we expected.
Yeah.
And we're on target for,
you're on target to cover that.
we're on target.
And I must say, it's quite impressive, the estimate on the budget for income from Lakeview revenues. We're off by $126. So that's pretty good. That's good to hear.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, good. And so, whoops. Now we're going on to the Lake Cowichan Building Inspection Report for July of 2023. Which is here for information unless somebody has any questions. And the building inspector report for August.
None taken out.
No. Can I'm asking myself permission, can I please ask our CAO a question? Are you finding that because of the increase in interest rates that some people are putting their building on hold because you're looking at 104 and 105 outstanding permits?
Two things, interest rate and the cost of material.
Yeah, and so some people are holding off. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so Lake Cowichan Fire Department incident report for May, which is $13,146.36. And we're looking for someone to move, and that would be Councillor Sandhu, seconded by Councillor Austin. Is there any questions on that report? All in favor of sending it to our next meeting? So moved. And Lake Cowichan Fire Incident Report for June of 2023. And we're looking to move the payment of $9,649.94. That was the lower one. Moved by Councillor Sandhu, seconded by Councillor Frisbee. Call question, all in favor? I want 5 screens here, so I don't have to keep going back and forth. Please. Okay, so we're looking for the July 2023 Fire Department incident report of $16,092.31. Looking for someone to move the payment. Councillor Austin, seconded by Mayor McGonigal. All in favor? Okay. And we're moving now on to an update on 65 Cowichan Lake Road. I believe you'll say. Clean up.
Yes. As a result of council direction, letters were sent out to the owners. And it appears that there was progress on cleanup, but now it seems like it's at the standstill. So what needs to happen is if council, if council still wants to proceed with that, then they will have to just say, we want to clean up, which would include the demolition of the building there, because you can't just go in with a cleanup, because there's really, who determines what cleanup? You can't just continue to have the skeleton of a building on site. So the next move is, we decide if we want to have that building demolished, and we'll move forward with the requirements on that, under the legislation.
Councillor Christie?
Is there another option for them to bring it up to grade as far as painting and installing windows and getting the renovation done? If
Well,
they
then-
do plan on doing it.
Well, then you have to specifically spell what it is you're looking. And if that's the solution, I mean, it's up to you. You will have to decide what's best. At the end of the day, council will wear it one way or the other. There was a building in Duncan, which required a lot of effort on the part of the city. Duncan to get it demolished. And now it's basically a park. And it took a fair bit of effort, there's almost litigation. And the city of Duncan was able to accomplish it. So it's clearly what it is you're looking for. I think you can have it painted, you can have it sitting there. And what's the next step? Are we going to revisit this issue every few months?
Have we had any correspondence from the owner of what the actual intention of the building is, or what the plan is for the building?
It has changed over time. Verbally, he's talked about the food place. And then he's talking about having, I think, a common, that's a lot. Which I think is two-story building.
And just to follow up on that, is that person you're talking about the owner, or is it a lease to own situation, or who
Lease on.
lease to own situation?
You looked at me, so I'll take that as acknowledgement.
Mayor McGonigal, yeah.
Thank you. My concern is in its current state, it is, has the possibility of attracting similar situation that even Greenwell had in its demise. Perhaps people's health and safety could be jeopardized in that effect. So that is my main concern, is the current condition for access and egress of those that should not be within that. So as for the unsightliness, I know there was some work that was done there. If we were to look at painting and lockup of that facility prior to looking at demolishing, would that be appropriate? And I'm asking my fellow councilors, not CAO. When in the end, what is the true intent of that? So it is currently zone C4. I believe I could be wrong. C1 perhaps, and C1 does allow for some residential options in the top portion. So if it's looking at a second floor, you would also consider whether that demolition would be appropriate and rebuilding. If you were looking at that sort of accommodation, given the age of the structure and the structure itself, cinder block, etc. So I'm just thinking outside the box. Response?
And if I can add to it, if we take on the issue of remediating that property. And the cost is, goes, it goes through the roof. It's possible that the owner might just walk away and we be holding on to the site that's contaminated. Fuel below, supposedly. And so, do we want to get to that? We have a particular property on that's now the site of the bus stop that has a fair bit of lien on the property. So do we want to get to that state?
Yeah, when I brought up the painting and windows and stuff, I was hoping that the owner was going to bring it up to standard as an operating building. It wasn't a short-term thing I was talking about. I'm aware of the ground issues. But at the moment, it can't stay as the first thing that greets people into the town. But I am wary, I'm also aware of a study that's been done on the tanks, and they're saying that they haven't leaked, but I mean, we would still have to remove tanks and have it sit for a couple of years. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
And at the end of the day, you're dealing with somebody owns that and we take that as a very last resort. We've worked a number of years on a number of properties and people don't think that we're doing fast enough, but we have to consider that that's some ownership. Do whatever we can to encourage to remediate to satisfaction of not only us, but the residents of town. As you say, if that's your first impression of Lake Cowichan, when you come into our town, and then you see the other portion, we have, as a town, taken care of one of our area buildings by the renovation of this facility. All we have to do is look at a couple others, and we have that in works. So I'm just wary of stating that we're going to demolish it without perhaps inviting the police person in for an update on what the true move forward remedy would be. And that may be an avenue that we could approach at a later date.
That was my question. The two things was, could we ask to meet with the lease owner just to see? The other thing is, under the contaminated site, like when was the last assessment on the underground and the tanks and that done? And do you have a copy of?
That was before 19.
So would that be something the town would take on for, first off, would be to have an assessment done of the tanks and the underground?
Well, we wouldn't be our responsible to do that because the property's not ours.
Yeah. But if we took it over to demolish
Oh,
whatnot, does the underground play into what our responsibility would be?
it would.
And that's an unknown.
I believe that there has been a study done in a potential sale on the property. Maybe if we ask the property owner if there is a study that's been done on it, because I believe some of the tanks checked prior to an offer that was put in on the property. And another option is, obviously they are infringing on bylaws. Is there a situation where we can just constantly fine them until action is taken?
The finding part wouldn't work unless it's on site. I think this issue is we're dealing with one, this site. We're dealing with a building that had.
So would we be able to ask not only for a meeting and have the owner and the lease owner brought before council and find out what their intentions are for that building would be the first step.
If I may, I would rather that the owner and the lease to own would meet with the CAO on those conditions and then have him. I don't want to be intimidating for the group of elected officials trying to make that decision when we are not the authorizing body for that sort of thing. We give direction to our CAOs. I would like to see that initial step, and then moving forward, that is something that we think with the information that is brought forward to us, we could piggyback on that for a follow-up meeting. That would be the avenue that I would choose, but that's totally up to you.
It would be direction.
Just directly staff to reach out to the owner and release to own on intent of the property moving forward.
With the
That's 65.
and you already have the fire department did an assessment there and
They will.
and so you have all that in hand. Okay, Councilor Frisbee.
Just before we go there, has that discussion not already happened? You've met with them?
We've not met them formally, but we've talked to them. We've come here, talked to the planner and myself. But not in a formal thing.
So if we were to give instruction for a formal meeting, that changes things?
Yeah, it would, just as long as that's the direction is different.
That's the intent, I mean, what is the true intent of that property when you get over? We've heard anecdotally that, and I apologize for cutting. We've heard anecdotally that it would be a food restaurant, we've heard other aspects that could be placed there. But to no avail as of yet. So until there's some, I don't know, apologize, concrete plans, I think we're just going by hearsay and wishing that it would be alleviated to some form. There's more peace.
And I want to go back to one other thing, it's the trees that are also a bit of a concern, but council did approve it to the town permit. The placement of those trees, so that's an issue that they come back. To my
But upon walking by there last week and I noticed there's actually bloom, growing in between the trees, which when we go to UBCM this week. And the broom busters are going to be there because now they're saying that this is a fire hazard for having broom, so that's a concern that on that property too.
I've heard conflicting reports on this tree approval. Did they get approved and are they in the correct place?
I believe they did get approved. Yes, they got through in terms of where they were placed. That's not an issue that I had any deals with. That was between the contract planner and the owners.
I was under the understanding it wasn't approval, but they were put in and then after the fact.
Yeah, that could well be.
Construed as approval. Councillor Alston,
That's what happened, but the town planner had asked them to put in different trees. I think ornamental pear or something, or deciduous for shade. And they went ahead and started putting in the cedars. And then he came to us and said, well, it's for shade, but those cedars aren't for shade, so it was kind of it was a mashup, yeah.
so it is,
So there is no seconder on motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Well,
We're just giving her.
You were seconding it, should we have the comments?
Well, I was asking questions before we.
Yeah.
Proceeded into it. They're making a very second.
So would you like to make your motion again?
If I have a seconder, I think we're okay.
I think you're okay.
Another's direction.
Yeah.
Because I said to that, and you said it was directed on our.
The direction is to the CAO.
To meet formally.
Meet formally with the lease owner and the owner of 65 Cowichan Lake Road regarding the future intentions of the property and any bylaw infractions.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, so we got first, a second, and now call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on back to our Director of Finance, and it's regarding use of credit cards for utility and tax payments and business licenses.
Yeah, so I've been in touch with our programmers, for Maze, and they will have the tax payments option for utilities and taxes. Or the process is now underway. The business license option to pay by credit card isn't yet programmed or set up with Maze yet, but they're rolling that out next year sometime. So hopefully in 2024 that'll come online. So we are working on getting the credit card payment option online for taxes and utilities.
I mean, that will be okay for this year's tax roll.
We're hoping to have the utilities for next year's 2024 billings, but hopefully maybe even for the third quarter billing when they go out, maybe they'll have the option of paying that by credit card.
And then available, if I may continue to follow, availability for tax payments, property tax payments.
Will probably happen at the same time. There's just some wrinkles that we need to work out in that we're not like Telus or Hydro where we issue a bill every month. So it's a matter of if we're going to allow partial payments or only full payments. Because when they go on to their online portal and look at their utility bill or their tax bill, it's what was originally billed. And then utilities roll on to taxes and we'll only ever issue one tax bill. So that's sort of what we're working on right now, is how we want to allow payments, if we're going to allow partial payments, because then the onus will be on the taxpayer to track what they paid on that billing.
And it'll be that the taxpayer has to do this online. It won't be.
Yes, it'll be online. That they can come into the office and find out what they owe, like what their balance is, and they can make a payment in the office. That's debit, cash, or check. But if they're using credit card, that will be an online option. So we're just sort of working on that.
A final comment, I think giving as many options as possible would alleviate some of the delinquencies that we're seeing in some of the properties, perhaps. It's just another option for people to accommodate the payment of those bills. So, no, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, thank you, the staff for investigating that. Any questions? No, we're good. Okay, so now we're on to communications and collect support. It's on the agenda.
Can I just ask a clarification? So this was something that was brought up in camera. So it's the creation of a job or employment of personnel. How is this on a regular agenda? Shouldn't it be?
Well, it doesn't meet the definition of an in-camera item. But there are only certain specific items that can be dealt with.
So personnel is not a.
That's not personnel, that's dealing with just the process of, we're not talking specific position. So just talking about ID.
Creation of personnel employment. So I mean, I've brought this up before and I've been reprimanded for bringing it up in a meeting. So I don't understand the difference of what it is.
Well, we've got to look at legislation that specifically spells out what can be brought up. We're talking about an individual employee. That's an intent.
But creating a position.
Creating a position is not.
Okay, so this was, I put this up on the agenda and I asked for this position to be created.
And I,
Direction of staff, is there any update on it?
oh, well, I'd like to. But I just speak on it because we discussed it.
Well, in response to this, I'm not sure exactly what you want, quite frankly, for the council. But this will take me a few minutes, if you don't mind. The education center right now is catering to groups and organizations that we know will rent our facility and use our, use our cooking facilities, who are our good staff, etc. And like, we're not a 5-star hotel. We are a no-star place. We have great staff that do some good work, I believe, in the kitchen, housekeeping, and our maintenance. But we really have to cater to groups and organizations that will go into facility with very limited accommodation. I say that because it's always it's either 2 to a room or 4 to a room. So when I'm specifically targeting groups and organizations over the budget for many years, I have to cater to groups that will go into those in that facility. And most of us, probably would prefer, queen size bed or king size bed and amenities. We don't have that. What we do have, the great thing about the education center, I'll be a little bit long-winded if you're be patient with me. We have a great, the property is beautiful. And we can attract people here. At this point in time, because we have, we are very busy for the main part of the season. And this year we'll be busy through till November. But I can't guarantee those things every time. And the reason I say that is because I have to act like a quarterback. When a new organization comes in, I selfishly, on behalf of our town, try and pick the group that's going to pay the most money and be best for our community, for tourism attraction, using our stores, etc., and us purchasing food. My concern, and I didn't hear a lot about it, the CAO did discuss a little bit about the comments that were being made about hiring another person. And I'm a little concerned that all of a sudden we add on another employee of $70,000, $80,000 a year.
It wasn't what was that.
Pardon me?
Maybe, if I may, maybe I should outline what was brought up at that in-camera meeting.
maybe that's-
And that would answer quite a few of these concerns, I think. So what I brought forward was that we could bring in a communications person that would look after not only promoting the click, the Lakeview campground, and take over communication for the town as far as marketing, Facebook, all our communication, everything. And side note, this was going to be a contract position, so it wasn't going to be a full-time employee. It was something we could add to it. And then I also raised the concerns that if we are going into bat for the click, that we want to keep this thing, it would be a good idea to start transferring some of that knowledge over to someone as well, and give you support on that front. And with you running the info center, the campground, and the click, it's probably a good idea to start bringing someone else in, even if it isn't on a contract. We also discussed that funding could be brought from the COVID relief fund, which I think me and you have talked about before. So I was enacting that as a way to get support for you as well as promoting the town. You know, because we haven't got a lot of promotion going on for what I call our businesses in Lakeview and the click. I understand the demographic of people that we can bring into that, but at the same time, we're trying to get, I was trying to get you some support in this role, as well as improving our communications as a team.
Okay, and you know, I'm supportive of that kind of concept, as long as it doesn't go on the bottom line of the plaque.
It was going to go into things.
So that's what I'm giving you the profile and my concerns about. I don't want to add more debt, so I have to come to this audience and say, well, council members, you could be talking with money. If you're going to cover that with the special funding, well, of course I could say that's a different thing altogether. If that's the way you want to spend money. So for example, when you get COVID relief fund, etc., as you'll know, on the bottom line of the education center, and I know this is not an easy thing for perhaps council members to mayor and council to see sometime, but those when the financial expertise we have sitting here put something online that says COVID fund, etc., you'll know that it does not show on the bottom line of the education center. So even though it looks like, you know, it's something that the taxpayers don't have to pay for. So as long as it's not impacting the bottom line of the education center, I would of course accept that kind of and be happy with that kind of result, as long as it's not in the bottom line of the education center.
You got anyone else around? Big first, or council sign? Okay. That's what we do.
You've spoken enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that I think, Aaron is, I think Bruce touched on a few things is, it for me, in my opinion, it wasn't just the communications just for the collect and lake, it was an overall, and I think we should just bring this forward to our budget talks for 2024, because at the end of the day, that's where these decisions are implemented, not midway through a budget year, because really there's no money allocated. And so my opinion is to have good, more thought process and discussion to lead up during our budget talks.
So my question would be to Ms. Gill, our CFO, whether or not the COVID grant funding could accommodate this sort of communication position within the parameters of what was brought forward for the use of that. I can't recall exactly what was in that.
I don't think this is covered, but I would for certainty have to check back.
And I would suggest that we do that prior to, and I'm sure Councilor Frisbee has picked through that in quite detail. I would like clarification on that communication from the province and what was allowed. I know there was some tourism funds that were okay to do any shortfalls with COVID, remediation, whether it was sanitation, etc. But if this would fit within that, we could look at a short-term contract similar to what is being suggested, and then bring forward the option of a communications / support person in the facility that is what you're looking for a budget. So that's just my only question on that. If we just get clarification.
Yeah, we, the collect manager and myself have had dealings with a person in the ministry dealing with economic development. And we will be meeting with that individual fairly soon. And this is a topic we can raise, and I think that's something that would make sense. We're looking at a grant program that we're going to go for. And that individual is asked to meet with us. And so maybe that is an avenue for us to look at a position like this.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, you know, without getting into details, what we're looking at right now is something more very specific, but it adds hundreds of thousands of dollars of value. We're looking at the waterfront walkway application, which after some brief discussions and follow-up with CAO, we've got some alternatives that we are looking at for alternative funding. And normally when I personally do the grants, and I won't say that I'm positive or optimistic unless I feel optimistic. In this case, I feel optimistic, and it would be something that we could replace the walkway perhaps by April. Well, we start work on it April 2024. If we, you know, so it's all premature, but it's one more aspect of the work that's all we're going to do.
That's right.
For the funding in the budgetary chat. So the website is being upgraded at the moment, which I don't believe is in budget talks. And the cost of that is coming out of the COVID relief fund. Is that right? So that was kind of my theory on, because I think I've asked about this before and the requirements of it. And then when the website started coming out of that fund, that's what kind of got me to bring this up. So I mean, I don't know what, I'm unsure of what needs to be budgeted as far as what comes out of that COVID relief fund, or whether we can use it without budget talks, but you know.
Are you sure you're not talking about the community development fund, which is different?
No, we're talking about COVID relief because the website's being upgraded at the moment for the town, and the funds being used for that is COVID relief funds.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money though. It could be covered by operations as well.
Right. Yeah. But the same kind of advice. But again, it's like being me against what we need to support the click, and if we can overall promote Lake Calton as a whole and keep it off. I understand Dalton's concerns of his bottom line and how I keep bringing it up. I'm trying to look at ways of getting it.
So finally, we can get clarification on the funding allocations that are allowed for the fund, whether it can be in place or not within whatever classes that may bring forward. I know you were also technological updates for in there, but I'm not sure that seats and seats. So just clarification on that, and then we can bring back that clarification to the perhaps council meeting. Just to update us on how we should move forward.
If I may, we talk about communication, we talk about emotions. Do we really know what we're doing? I mean, are we just throwing it up as something that wonderful to have? I mean, we can talk emotions when we talk about communications, having a communication person. Yeah, but at the end of the day, does council really understand what we're looking? I mean, it's like to throw dollars at a position and say, yeah, you know, that's going to promote class, and it's going to just, you know, we're going to bring in all kinds of income. Are we certain of that?
And I think, I think the intent is not only focus on the black, but to focus on our communications as an entity, as a community that people are coming to. If you look at the summertime here, what do we want to be identified as? Do we want to turn it into a West Kelowna? Or do we want to be a place where people can come and recreate as a family? I think the communications portion is how we sell ourselves. What we think that we're going to entice people to come here. It's our recreation opportunities, it's our excellent trail system and that sort of outdoor aspect. And without a branding, for instance, which may be a portion within the communications side of it. I think we are going as a root system of the tree that is not very deeply rooted. Thank you. Let's get clarification from the plan. Or go with the we'll come back to the discussion. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that on as ongoing, I guess. Including the vertical slide from here, parks, recreation and culture. That's on there. No. No, just see it, oh, one. Okay, so we're going on to point ideal driving or drive parking on the left-hand side of the road. Well, sounds like we're in England. Point ideal drive, the parking on the left-hand side of the road. Our superintendent, would you wish to speak on this? Because we have a memo, I believe, for the.
Yeah, there's a memo there, I think it's pretty clear that road when it was built, it's a collector road, and there's ample parking on both sides and two-lane traffic there, so. Don't really see any point on taking away roughly 60 parking spots. In our busy summertime, we're already struggling to have parking areas.
Okay, anyone wish to speak on that? Councilor Brady.
Yeah, I think we gave staff direction to try it for one day to see how it was. What we experienced in the summer was, we had a camper parked there for a month outside the real estate building there. I also understand it was built for two-way traffic, parking on both sides with a sidewalk on one side. I don't think it was designed to have people walking down the middle of the road with doors open and floating tubes on the roadway. There will be an accident down that road at some stage during the summer. And if I guess my question is, if we spend $25,000 on a parking and traffic plan, and they come up with this opinion or other opinions, are staff going to enact that? Are we actually going to follow instruction from that parking plan? Because this was just an attempt to see what it was like and get feedback from the community.
That's very kind.
So just a comment, so the concern is that people are walking down the middle of the road.
So because of the left side on the left side doesn't have a parking, so therefore they walk along the road to get their vehicles and leave their doors open. But there's also quite a big population of people that are staying or living on that side of the road in campers. So the idea behind me putting this forward, and I think council giving that instruction, was even if it's just between the turnoff at Point Ideal and South Shore to the Centennial Parking, is to get some of that walking in the middle of the road cleaned up, because that is what I'm hearing from residents, is that the danger is people walking in the middle of the road. So if we were to take away that left side, we've got a footpath on the other side, so you don't see as many people walking in the middle of the road. So that was the idea of it. But I'm just concerned that if we're not willing to try things and we want to spend money to get someone to tell us things, are we actually going to enact it? And so that $25,000 of a parking and traffic study through town, if we do get recommendations, are we willing to do it, or should we take that budget item on?
Well, I'll answer that. I think it's for us to give directions once that study comes back, and with that direction, staff would be told or asked to accommodate our process. If that does not occur, then for whatever reason, if it comes back that it is not sufficiently safe or etc., then we take that advisement. But the direction comes from this table. If the study comes here, we will discuss the study and what the recommendations are, and then direct accordingly. And from there, we'll see how that accommodates.
Follow up to that, Rebecca. Yes.
So we still have to, if we did have a study done, we still weigh the opinions of our staff. along with that, because it doesn't mean that that study is accurate, like I guess that's a question, that it would all be weighed.
Just one more, so you can have traffic studies, we can try all sorts of stuff. That doesn't mean the people that are walking down the center of the road or don't use crosswalks that we're gonna stop literally. But you see, if we have crosswalks, they don't use a big crosswalk route. Go to the A&W, they walk across you. Well, you can do all sorts of studies, but that's not gonna correct people's habits.
And I look at that as where you've already got a wide road and you have 60 parking spots, and if you start to deplete those parking spots, well, then that goes against what our intent was, which was to provide more parking to relieve it off Salem. And so I agree that at this point, with the superintendent, that until we have a traffic person saying differently, and I can sit there at Jake's, there's a sidewalk there and you watch people go across, and there's a sidewalk up here, but people are just walking across the street. So you don't say, okay, we need to put another sidewalk in 5 feet up, because then they'll cross in between those two sidewalks. That's Rustin.
I was just gonna say, if this is only during the summer when it's busy, it's not a major thing, and we have a lot of that at where our old building was over here at Island Savings. People, the old people, the older people, come out of the Evergreen or the seniors center and they walk right across the road on that corner, which is near the corner. You're not gonna change what some people do. I think if it's just for a couple of months every year, I think we need to keep those parking spots.
Yeah, as far as what Madam McGonigal touched on, is if we get direction to staff, this was the direction to staff on this table, and it didn't get achieved. As far as habits and changing people's habits, if we take away the destination of a car parked on the side without a sidewalk, that would change the habits. But, and I also would like to speak on safety. I realize it's only for a couple of months, but there will be an accident on that road. There will be a pedestrian if change on it. And furthermore, if I may, the parking, there's plenty of parking around town. There's a lot on Point on Hill. And very rarely goes past the entrance of Centennial Park. It's never got to the gate this summer as far as the gated road at Point on Hill. We also have tons of parking up by the high school, which is exactly the same walking distance. But I'm frustrated that we're not taking this safety concern more seriously.
Anyone else? Okay, so that was an update. So now now we're moving on to Darnell Road, which was the right turn only. And that report, I'd like our superintendent to.
On that one, I spoke to the Ministry of Transport a few times. And again, just last week, he was in town and I spoke to him again over it. And they do not recommend it. I don't even think they won't even allow it. They can bring their engineer, traffic engineers and have a look at it. It doesn't work, just the way the roundabout is. There's an island coming out of the roundabout. There's a left-hand turn going towards the liquor store. Big semi trucks cannot make that corner, and especially if there's a vehicle sitting in that left-hand turn to turn up Darnell, the trucks can't make that corner. And that the South Shore Road, Hudson Lake Road is Ministry Road. We can't change traffic control up there, the traffic directions. They have to allow us to do it.
Yeah.
We can't even change the sign on there.
Yeah. Councillor Brisbane.
This was brought forward by me after I got feedback from this table and staff that MOTI were the ones that brought this up in the past, that it should be a right-hand turn only. Is that true or not?
I think the RCMP did.
No, that's true. They did recommend that, but based on further studies and new staffing, and we'll see you come back with a different opinion. So it's all based on opinion, and that's the issue. There's no study based on facts. It's based on what people think.
Yeah.
You know, if I think people shouldn't cross the street, well, then I've got to just stop people who cross, right? But it's not gonna happen. So like the superintendent suggested, it's happens, you can't change it.
I think that we're setting ourselves up for another accident because we have the exit of one of the most popular stores in town at Home Hardware that is very short distance to the crosswalk. So I've noticed it 2 times a summer that people are almost getting cleaned up by vehicles because pedestrians look left and right. They don't look across the road before when they hit the button. And then people coming off Darnell to turn left are checking left, then they're checking right, and then there should be another check of the actual crosswalk, but there's not. So again, I hope I'm wrong, but it's an accident waiting to happen. And we need to address it. Like it's going to happen. I understand this habits thing that we keep going on about, but there's way to change habits, and it's a safety in it. And I hope I'm wrong where we're going to react after there is an accident, but I've seen 2 personally where it's been a close call on that crosswalk.
Well, I don't want to belabor this. It's bad enough too that the people don't press the buttons on these. I crossed over this one by it the other day. Some people don't press that, but I don't think you can stop people from not looking, and a lot of people don't even press the button. Never mind. I think we taught our kids to stop, look, and listen. Nobody's teaching kids that anymore, never mind adults. And so I mean, we need to care if it's Ministry of Transportation, they made the decision. I wanted the brake turn only as well, but I think we just have to go with it. I've seen people do a U-turn at the Home Hardware.
Yes.
Shoot a U-turn and do right around right when I was getting ready to pull out from the drugstore. So I think we've addressed it, we've talked about it, MOTI's made their decision, RCMP made their decision. I don't see how we can do any more at this stage.
Just one thing that I think is cumbersome at Darnell, if you are turning left and someone has pushed the button, there's no indicator for the car to see that button is pushed. They are only west and east facing. I'm wondering if MOTI can be approached about another light once those are activated at Darnell that is pointing to Darnell. At least that would appease those who are pushing the button, that they could be at least foreseen that they're across. And it's interesting, depending on who is the area manager at the time as to what comes forward as a recommendation. When the RCMP came and said right-hand turn would be sufficient, I have noted that some of those large delivery trucks may have a problem. And that again would be a congestive accident if they were turning right and there was an accident there for access. But there's more to it than just a right-hand turn lane. I think the design of that whole corner from Burns through the engineering of that was not looked at as a growth opportunity of this town, and that is coming to bite us as we speak now. Delivery cannot be accommodated through the entrance to the grocery store and the exit. Those large transport trucks, 52 feet, would not be able to meet that. So therein lies part of the problem, in my view. I don't know what the answer is, but I think another look at whether that light can be facing Darnell might appease some of the problems of passing there when people push the button.
Well, we can request that their traffic engineers come and have a look and give us some suggestions. Like this is from the area manager. We can ask the engineers to. So.
Could it be a request that it was all of those push button intersections? Because there's one by Country Grocery, it's the same, and it's in a school zone. And so kids are crossing, but there's nothing there that really lets people know. So it's a safety as well as the one at Home Hardware and the one further down at Eds. Because you have to actually push the button that you're intending to go. And then you have to kind of look at the vehicles to wait to see if they're going to stop for you. Because you don't see a light telling you that it's safe to go. So we're gonna have one, we might as well do all of that, right? That's a good
I
plan.
was just gonna say, any crossing we do, whether it's a road or a sidewalk, whether it's a light that says green, like driving through a green light, you still have to be observant around you, because it, for the vehicle. So it's no different somewhat with walking across a crosswalk, is just because you hit that light, doesn't mean it's safe to go yet. You have to be observant of your area surrounding you to make sure there aren't cars speeding at 100 and that won't be able to stop type of thing. So again, it's the word habits. I don't like that word, but it's about educating people, but you can only do so much educating. It's not our job to educate people up there in that sense, like, my opinion, but yeah.
That's where Austin.
They have, when the time changes, which it probably will again this year, they do a lot of special ads on the TV. If anybody watches them, to say for the, to look out for people and also for people to stop, look and listen. I have pushed the button there and I have had people drive through. And, so, you know, it's stop, listen, listen. And be conscious, and if things happen, they do, they're called accidents, I'm sorry, but that's a fact.
That's what it is.
Yeah, just to touch on that, we actually have the same situation at South Shore and Point O'Neill, but the only difference is you're turning, but you can see what's coming at you. There's no exit of a business place. But just to piggyback on the Darnell Road intersection, are the logging trucks that are parked on the side of the road, are they allowed to park there?
No,
Is this something we can give direction for bylaw to? I think they already have tried, but
and they've been working on it, and I believe, fine, so I mean, I'm not sure what the status of this one.
thank you.
See, one of the trucks now are back into that particular site that we're talking about.
Yeah.
We actually witnessed that logging truck pulling the motor home.
Yeah.
That was in the back
The team.
a few months ago. After a council meeting.
So we'll move on now to Sunny Dump Automations. And once again, back to our CAO, or not CAO, our superintendent.
I'm not sure. Did you want, do you want us to go right on for your report?
Sure.
Yeah, I just summarized the contract that Sammy started, the numbers that they gave us, should we decide to proceed. It really is a council decision if that's something that you'd like to see.
There was staff direction to do a study on how much was bought in and how many people do pay. Was that completed over the summer?
We did it a couple of times, yes.
And what are the results from that?
50%.
50. So, if I may.
Yes.
So I had my staff do it on September long weekend, the Monday. And it was, I think it was 50 vehicles through, and they said 14% of people actually paid on the busy long weekend. But I'd like to see the numbers of the 50% if we can get a report on that, because we really need to find out how much each person is actually paying, although it's probably missed that boat now. Well, the instruction was to start was to empty the donation bin, see how many cars come through, how many people pay, take the money, divide it by how many people paid to get that number. Have we done that?
No.
There was direction. Absolutely. There was, I don't recall that direction.
Hopefully it's on.
I think we discussed it and I have to say, I look down there when I'm out exercising and I do see some people, they're maybe putting a 5 and maybe they're not putting a whole 15. I do see that, and I do understand that maybe people coming from camping don't have cash all the time, but in other places, they do have to pay. And they're not all automated, we've been to ones where you've had to pay cash. And so, we are getting quite a bit of money, I think we got up to 15,000 last year, we got it somewhere. And, you know, I think this is something we have to think about for a while. It's quite a bit of money to outlay. It would be nice if they could just use a card, but there is a lot of expense there. It would take a while to recoup any of the money we are getting. And I do think if you charge too much, I see that one sheet that we have here, I think it's in my stuff here, that it suggested $20. And I think a lot of people, if it's too much money, they're gonna dump it. We've seen it happen before. I just think we have to be very careful. We have been getting, I think the least we've gotten over the last few years is $7.
So, plugged into our,
I know why, I didn't put it into it, but I'm just saying. Well, yes, we are. In the center.
so I think what we have to look at is, first of all, is all the money that we're going to get with an automated system only going to finance implementing this system?
But the first couple of years.
We don't know that. We don't know whether by putting out all this money and bringing it in, could it potentially cost us money versus revenue producing? What happens if on a long weekend, the machine goes down? Yeah, so there's lots of variables here that, you know, I'm looking at. And a lot of costs that they don't know yet, not yet known. Payments collected, not yet known. So I'm not comfortable just saying, go ahead. Until we have way more information. So you have something first, Councillor Sanders?
What I did, I was just gonna say is that this is an investment, and I do support this need of this. And I think the amount of tourism we've got in like, in the Sea Hawaii, the people, if it's a cash thing, like, I don't know how much bills we get versus change type of thing, you know, you can kind of base that on how people are paying. And I also think at the end of the day, is that the money is only really going to be, this will really only be generating funds during the summer, like you said, but having it open all year long, we may not cover our monthly costs, but we are investing in something that I think at least for a few years, we should try. And if we're seeing no improvement whatsoever in anything financially, then we can look at it at the end of the contract. But unless we bite the bullet and make a decision, I don't think there's any more information we can get that is this is laid out well. It is a cost, but I also think we need to have an investment to get some money back where we can then invest possibly in a second sandy duct. Whatnot. Like we have to think, you've got to start thinking outside the box.
So the figure I have in there, 15 to 1,000 to install it, we can shave that down considerably. What I've done is redo a whole new island. If you guys want to do it for a short while, try it. We can use the existing one and just hook it to that and use that. So we can, you know, cut the cost if that's what you guys wish. Whether it's, you know, just upgrade it all, a proper island and everything, and do it right. So
But it would have to be a 3-year term.
it's a 3-year term.
3-year term regardless of.
Yeah.
Okay. Mayor, the Lord,
And we can send out anecdotal numbers to this meeting amends, but without true numbers, I don't think you know exactly what your recovery is going to be, whether it's significantly more than we currently have. But we have heard time and time again that people are not paying, and I have seen it myself, but there's another anecdotal source. I still am of the opinion that this is a good investment moving forward. The price may be extensive, seeing some of the anecdotal numbers that we do here, but again, that's something that can be discussed. For a 3-year term, I think it would be something to accommodate the true use of that, where we are not subsidizing usage of our sanitation system by the taxpayers of Lake Cowichan. If it's payer user fees, then user pays. I think it's as simple as that. When we're not allowing, but we're giving access to our sewer system to visitors, It is us who absorb that cost for the ones that do not contribute. So I would still like to see this move forward, and if after the 3-year term it does not work, we can back away from the contract and look at another option.
I would like to go ahead and motion that we move forward with the installation of the standing dump. With a price point of $10 per use. And the installation to be up and running by April 1st of 2024.
Is that possible, Superintendent Steinberg,
Second.
with a question?
Oh, no, I just have a question. Does this have to go to budget talk? Because it's not in the budget at the moment.
It is in the budget,
Is it totally all of this? All of
it was approved. Budget.
it. I don't know that. Totally didn't approve it. Okay, I've got the memo from the original one.
Okay, so recommend, you said recommendation? Recommendation, then it said the recommendation from the council with blind. So
That's what it is.
that's the motion is to go ahead. And the second is.
I was just gonna, can we amend it a little bit to look at possibly if for a public works superintendent to look at it and see if he can shave a bit down? Like just say for this, but if we can. Like what you had said.
So go
Yeah,
ahead.
we can do it cheaper, like I said, I anticipated doing a whole divider there. Containing the area and the water outlet to like modern style. So we don't have to do that right now.
Unless it's the will of the table to make the motion, if I can do the whole thing, so. So,
I'm curious, I couldn't hear the motion, was it for $10?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
the motion is for the full, as.
Go ahead with the fee of $10 instead of 15.
Okay, but and to implement the full installation as here. So the motion then is to go ahead with the sandy dump at Saywell Park. As presented here by our Director of Finance. But with the change of the donation being a pay per use of $10, not 15.
And implemented.
And implemented by April 1st, 2024, if possible. Because we know contractors, etc. So that was motion by Aaron, Councillor Frisbee, seconded by Mayor McGonigal.
It'll have to be rebudgeted if it's occurring next year, then it just has to be, because you've got a motion that will allow us to rebudget.
And during the motion, I was just saying we should have it up and going now, but as far as I was aware, we have it approved for budget now. If we can get it installed by Christmas, awesome, but it's just putting that deadline on it so we're not dragging into our camping months. So I'm on board for it to happen this year, it's just I think it needs to be a deadline just in case.
So we'll call the question.
Oh, just for clarification, if it does not be implemented in this budget year, we will have to re-budget it next year because it will just roll into the. And I think that's all for just the clarification. The funds are here for this year, the one to surplus, then we will readdress it at budget time with this motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Awesome, pretty different. Yeah.
Okay.
I just have one more question. I don't know that.
Then-
you see down.
But then can staff go ahead and order this now? Under the,
Yeah, if the plan is to implement it by December 31st, yeah.
okay,
Last I talked to him, it was 3 times.
okay.
Okay, let's make the vote quick before prices go further. So, calling the question. All in favor? There we go. More money on. Ever pattern. Okay, You haven't been at a UBCM resolution yet. Okay, so now, chief administrative officer regarding local area service for providing sewer service to Ringdale property. Ringdale.
You want me to go through it? The Ringdale area was annexed by the town in 2008. And at that time, the obligation on the part of the town was to provide upgraded water system. That they had a substandard water system, and they were advised that sewer would be on entirely their responsibility. And in the meantime, we've had people raising the issue of when are we going to get sewer? And they are well aware of the fact that they will have to pay for it. I did send out a letter back in December of 2019, outlining the cost at the time. At that time, the cost was estimated at $1 million, just under. And no letters came back saying they were in favor or they were opposed to it. So there are two ways of initiating a local area service. One is by the residents, the property owners themselves, or the town can take that initiative on by itself. So at this stage, again, we have no petition asking for the service. We just have inquiries. And so what we're suggesting here in this memo is that we take council initiative and give the opportunity to the property owners to oppose it if they don't want the service. The other way to do it is to take it to a vote. That is a little bit more costly and, it takes time. So my viewpoint, it would make more sense to go through the petition again process. And once that, you've given the 3 readings in local area service bylaw, then you have to look at boring with that project. And that will require another process where you go back to the property owners and tell them that this is what it's going to cost, and we want to borrow the sum of $2 million, give or take.
And,
Thank you very much. I like I would not like to see this go through the approval process. But a contravention of those that do not want to participate is the avenue that I would choose, but given the time lapse of the letter to the residents and perhaps the turnover of some of those properties, would it be appropriate to send a follow-up letter?
Oh, no, the
This
follow-up
would be
letter is
follow-up
attached.
letter?
Yeah, we have to do it from the start. Brand new.
Because there may be turnover within residential properties that have changed hands since then. So the whole process would start again.
That's it.
So all those properties on Greenville will get the letter stating that if they are against it, that is the road that we are choosing.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's the method I would choose.
so some clarification though, because when I bring it up every year, and I think I had asked at one meeting whether with the properties changing hands and selling, that there was something on title, letting the new owner know that this was something that had been agreed on. So that's why this confused me when I looked at it, because I'm going 50% saying no,
50.
but yet that was the agreement for them coming into the town, was my understanding.
No, that's the agreement for them coming to town, was they just wanted to pay tax. And they were under the assumption that they were going to get an upgraded water system. That was it. And they had also inquired about getting sewer services. We've had meetings here at the town hall, at the municipal hall, where it was clearly laid out that that was not something that the town would subsidize or pay for. And they were well aware of that. We have to go through a process to get a buy-in on the city.
So if 50% say, no, we don't want it, we're not gonna pay for it.
Well, it's based on the amount of property you own.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's 50% of the total. land and improvements that can save them.
Okay,
And if 3 people own 51%, and they say, yes, we want to get, that doesn't.
And if I may, on your point about it being within the sale, I think it's imperative that the new property will be given that decision as well. It's not the intent of continuity within that property. It should be the person who decides there to take on
The state.
the current resident for that. So it's important to redo that if there has been some change in view, but
And once
you'll go over Zoom.
Councillor Frisbee.
So for clarity, if we do this process and 51% are against this project, the entire project does not happen.
not 51% the total assessed value.
Yeah. And if they're against it,
Then you cannot bring it back for another year.
okay, and so it's not putting it to bed forever, it would be moving on to the next year. So there's still, if there is a change of hands, they have to vote against.
But you cannot bring it back.
Yeah, that's the way.
So what is it that we need to do then?
I will make a recommendation for both the local area bylaw and loan authorization bylaw. It would be
Usually petition again.
petition against.
And
Method be used and extent not be,
and authorize me sending out this letter.
and the authorization of an updated one.
Who's this going?
There's a motion.
Yes.
Seconded by
Yeah, that was-
Lori Austin. We'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, there we go. Okay, new business. Oh, no, we're missing something somewhere. No new business.
New business.
Yeah, new business, the Growing Lake Cowichan, the official community plan. Update open house to be held September the 23rd, 2023 from 1 to 4 p.m. And that's here in the council chambers.
And that's the poster for it. The poster is up at the country grocery as well as on our door. There's ads in the paper and it's on Facebook and website.
Okay, and the town's website.
And the public meeting.
And they will also go to the public meeting and just do some update, letting people know some of the updates. So they'll be there on to. We are going to have some gifts if I can get a hold of some
Yeah.
for the Saturday, the 23rd.
Just for clarification on this event, is this run by town staff or council members or?
It's the advisory
It'll be the agency.
advisory planning commission. I just happen to be the liaison.
I see, thank you.
But council can attend. Oh, everybody could, so choose with the public.
And there'll be sticky notes that you can put things up if you don't like or want something different.
Okay, moving on to new business B, inquiry response policy for emails and phone calls.
How are you?
Just fine.
I think I brought this forward a number of months ago, so the possibility of a policy for returning emails and phone calls in a timely manner. I'm just wondering if there is a policy on returning those calls at present. And if not, if we could implement some sort of timeline for those responses. In some cases, whether it's any department, whether it's public works or bylaw, I get the wrath of those who have not been contacted and try to suggest that it is being taken care of. So I'm wondering if there is a policy on returning, and B, if not, if we can implement some sort of policy.
I think there's some semblance of a policy, but it needs to be updated and made relevant to today's technological data.
Yes, and I know we are a lean machine, but and everybody wants something. And I think a timely response of just, we have received your email, could appease some of those questions that I get. Or et cetera. So I would like to look at updating the policy to incorporate a return response within 48 hours for emails and phone calls. So just so people know what time frame when we will be responded to, unless the Wi-Fi or internet is out at Public Works, they take longer for Rogers to come and fix that. But that is in jest. I know that we do have some technological issues. But if we can bring back some form of response policy with those numbers in there, I would appreciate it. I'm not sure if other numbers go along with that, but I think 48 hours gives us time to look at the question and whether or not all the information is provided, and at least accommodate a response stating that we have received it.
48 hours won't work over the weekend.
True, and we can put that in the policy.
I mean,
Other than
we'd have to say working days or something.
Yeah,
yeah,
A long weekend.
working day.
but something to that.
So is there already an actual policy? that just-
We have something, that it's just very brief, I think it needs to be updated.
So even if that could be brought to council,
I'll take it.
yeah,
Thank you. We're
Well,
just
that
giving
is-
us more work.
in 48 hours.
Get that done.
Do you want that back in 48 hours?
Yeah, right now.
Okay, thank you. We'll leave that with staff then. So the new business fee is the recognition at the CBRD, and I believe Councillor Sandu brought it forward.
So John Nozinga, the manager for community services, sent council, mayor and council, a letter which you have received dated August 11th, 2023. He had forwarded to me also as I'm a commission member, and just outlining the new commission representation. So for Couch and Lake Recreation, the area I will have one member, which will be the elected official. Area F, one member, the elected official. Town of Lake Cowichan can have two members. It can be either two elected officials, or it has to be minimum one elected official and one resident. And the municipality of North Cowichan has two members, which they've already approved who will be attending. And so this starts October 2023 and it ends December 31st, 2026. So they need a decision from this council by October 5th.
Thank you, and this is all in light of the regional recreation funding model that came forward. This was the avenue that was chosen on a threshold of 6% participation would give that party a chance to sit on those bigger boards. North Couch and will have a representative on all of the recreation commissions. This is transitioning from our current model where each area I, area F, and the town had 3 members, 1 elected and 2 from the public. I think for this upcoming time that we look at 2 elected officials on our portion, and there's an option moving forward for public members to sit on another commission that only deals with our sub-regional portion of our community centers. That is a totally different entity from the recreation funding model. Because it is a sub-regional model, it will be governed by only those contributing members. At that time, then we look at sending that out to the public for participation in that. So I'm going to blindside 2 people, and I'm going to suggest that Councillor Sandu and Councillor Frisbee be the representatives on the Couch and Lake Recreation Commission.
One clarification for that. So I'm seeing the COTW advertise on Facebook for public to be involved in that process within Lake Cowichan.
That is for the community hall.
That's for the community hall, not.
These commission appointments are by this body. If we chose to go out to public, we would definitely have to advertise for those who are interested. We shouldn't just make a unilateral appointment, even though there are public that are currently sitting on that. So I would think for the first 3 years of this recreation planning model representation, that we stick with 2 elected officials. And then look at that, how it worked this time, and then perhaps 1 and 1 could be looked at for the new council that comes in.
So it's for the term of the election. Councillor.
So our first meeting will be Monday, October 23rd. And they're going to be held every 2 months, so it's not monthly. And they're not sure whether or not they're going to go to the evening meeting or not, but the first one is October 23rd.
I should ask if
If
you were willing to do it.
Yes.
I'm willing to do it. It's the October 23rd one, but I'm willing to do it. We have no turn just in case.
And I was going to ask that question is, can you put a third person on as an alternate if one of us, because that's the votes we have, right?
I think we need clarification on that, so I'm amending my motion stating that an alternate, Mayor Tim McGonigal, will be added in the absence of either member, if appropriate. Yeah. So I didn't see that within the correspondence, whether there was an alternate or not, so.
So the question was if you would both take the appointment. Yes, and yes. And we take the appointment as alternate, so. So we do have the question.
Yeah.
So it's a call question. All in favor? Okay, so that will be sent on through our CAO, the decision.
So if I may, through your CAO, talking to Mr. Elzinga today, he said as long as this is ratified at the end of the month and then they're notified, he's away the first week in October, for Denise Williams, the arena manager here, and, Mr. Elzinga's, assistant, thank you, sorry. His assistant, that they will just to email them.
Okay. So then we're moving on, ready notices. And one would like.
Can we haven't had the emergency preparedness, at our last 2 committee of the whole meetings, and I'm just wondering whether we start it in this fall or in beginning of the new year, is that we start actually doing our tabletop exercise and start digging into this emergency plan, and so that we can have something to provide to our residents. And something I'm hearing from, like, with the, like, Kelowna is about educating the residents about not just fire hazards, but all different types of weather-related events and whatnot, is that we need to be proactive in and educating them of our community, of our plan and whatnot. So I really want to keep on this, please.
Yeah, I think the incident of that Means Creek, all of a sudden had a lot of people asking because of the fact that they really did a small fire started from lightning, so I think we need to get on this. Councillor Austin.
I just think the main thing is for people to be ready and prepared, and that's what we're all talking about. We did do that with our emergency planning group. And we were gonna do something at the 50 plus, Mrs. Archer and myself, just to go through the emergency book. We haven't done it yet. I think she's away right now, but maybe we could talk about that too at our open meeting on the 25th. And I'll have some of those emergency books ready, because the big main thing is to be prepared and have your insurance papers with you. Your any other special papers and things, and just have your kit ready to go. And as I say, this is on the television every single night for earthquake and fire and whatever. So, you know, and I think that's the best we can do. You're still gonna have people that panic, and I know it's hard not to. Yeah.
Did you have something?
I'm good.
Oh, you're good, okay, you're sure you're good?
No, I'm good.
You're okay?
He's not good, but he's okay.
So we are at the portion now of question period, which is limited to 2 items on the agenda tonight. And for people who are on site, email to general@lakehallerton.ca. And for persons in attendance, maximum of 3 minutes. Limited to items on the agenda and questions from the Matt, please. Anyone who have any questions from the audience? No, we're good. Any on email? On email?
Just before we adjourn that material, looking to our CAO and our staff and wishing to accommodate an open house of the new facility when we iron out all the bugs that are difficult. We would all accommodate that, be available to show the residents the updated facility. This is the first dedicated municipal hall that the town of Lake Cowichan has ever had. We've always shared the facility with other entities, whether it was the Nellie Child Center or the fire department that actually resided where we are sitting today. So I think it's important that we show the residents that the infrastructure that has been remediated and taking care of one of our derelict facilities in a very good manner. We've got some wood products as a fourth nation, as a fourth community. I think that was important to implement those. And, it'd be nice for people to come and see the new facility. So once we have it ironed out, we'll work on a date where we can accommodate that, and perhaps we'll invite some of the local area elected officials to have a look there. Thank you.
Thank you to staff because you've been put out a lot more than we have during the renovation, so extend that to your office staff too. That we appreciate that. Any more comments from councilors? Yeah, this has been a long meeting, hasn't it, after hiatus? And so we're all off to the CM this week, Sunday for lots of learning. So this was good that we came back today. So we're looking for adjournment. So that's for Austin, seconded by. Anybody in favor, or do you wish to stay longer? Oh, I'm here. We're good. Okay, the hour.